gràcies. Agrair, per suposat, l'Institut Confuci una vegada més per acollir-nos i és un plaer poder estar aquí de nou, en aquest cas, en aquesta ocasió, per presentar la recerca que ha desenvolupat l'alumne, o l'exalumne, Xi Zeng, del nostre programa del nostre màster de creació artística contemporània. Va finalitzar el màster i va desenvolupar després la recerca, el pla de recerca en un programa de doctorat de la Facultat de Belles Arts. Potser que parli en castellà, ¿no? ¿Sí? Bueno, decir que Xi Zeng es reciente doctor, o ha sido un alumno especial en el sentido de que vino a Barcelona a estudiar el máster de creación artística contemporánea sin unos conocimientos o sin una formación artística previa. Y vino para ampliar y complementar su formación más de tipo empresarial. Actualmente trabaja en OnePlus y por tanto esto da una dimensión de una formación, por tanto, diversa, plural, y la ampliación de unos estudios de tipo artístico le han permitido dar una visión más espiritual del mundo empresarial. Por tanto, la investigación que planteó fue sobre la estética zen y su influencia en la cultura, en el mundo sociocultural, tanto en Oriente como en Occidente particularmente. La estética zen es una manifestación artística y creativa algo particular. En primer lugar, porque la noción zen es compleja, sobre todo para nosotros los occidentales. Quizá como introducción, tampoco quisiera extenderme demasiado, como introducción valdría la pena recordar la definición que hace el monje budista japonés y difusor del concepto zen, Daijai Suzuki, que dice que el zen es una disciplina para la iluminación. Y la iluminación significa emancipación. Y la emancipación no es otra cosa que libertad. Como sabemos, hay muchos tipos de libertad, pero la libertad real es el resultado de la iluminación, según Lao Tse. Todas las escuelas budistas se ocupan de la iluminación como punto central. Por tanto, la estética que emana del budismo, la estética zen, nace de un movimiento espiritual, de un estado del ser, no en cambio de un movimiento artístico como la mayoría de movimientos y lenguajes artísticos occidentales que nacen de planteamientos conceptuales artísticos, y si bien es cierto que algunos que nacen de alguna noción espiritual e incluso religiosa, básicamente nacen de conceptos artísticos. En cambio, la estética zen nace de una noción estrictamente espiritual. Según Thomas Merton, autor del Zen y los pájaros del deseo, dice que la contribución del Zen al arte se ha dado en términos de una profunda dimensión espiritual que transforma el arte en una experiencia esencialmente contemplativa, durante la cual despierta la conciencia primigenia oculta dentro de nosotros mismos. En la lectura de la tesis de ZENG, el profesor Sebastián Serrano, que era presidente del tribunal, muy agudamente nos preguntó cuál era el secreto de la creatividad artística. Pues bien, pienso que la respuesta debemos de hallarla en algún tipo de experiencia que nos despierte un determinado estado, llamémosle iluminación, conciencia primigenia, en el caso del Zen, por supuesto, por la vía del zazen, o meditación silenciosa, y el dejar fluir, o el dejarse fluir, como nos indica el Tao. El silencio es una de las premisas fundamentales, evidentemente conjuntamente con la contemplación y la meditación, para encontrar o para hallar este estado que en el caso del budismo llaman de iluminación. Bien, no quiero extenderme más porque pienso que lo importante es ver cómo ZENG amplía e ilustra pues esto, la influencia de la estética Zen en la cultura contemporánea. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias por venir. Durante mi estudio aquí en Barcelona, como 5 o 6 años aquí, he estado varias veces en el Instituto de Confusión y es increíble que ahora estoy aquí para dar una lectura de estética Zen. Es un placer mío. Gracias otra vez. Y por la limitación de niveles de castellano, creo que no puedo dar una lectura de la estética Zen en castellano, por eso tengo que decir en inglés. Please forgive my level of castellano. I feel comfortable speaking English in the topic of Zen aesthetic. Pero si tienes alguna pregunta en español, creo que puedo entender y I will try my best to answer the question. So, okay, at the beginning, it was my doctoral defense, the topic of Zen aesthetic, but I modified a lot to, so I will guarantee you that it's gonna be an interesting, not boring lecture that you are having today. Is gonna take around 1 hour, I promise. So before everything, I want to show you the thesis of mine. So as you can see, they have a hole on the cover because I burned it. I can make sure that every thesis that I have is the only one in the world. And as you can see, the color of the cover is the original color of the paper. So the thesis itself, I can guarantee this is the Zen aesthetic thesis. But how can we define Zen aesthetic? I'm going to show you various things to please answer me if it's Zen aesthetic. What do you think of this knife? Is it Zen? Nope. Why?
I don't know.
Just doesn't feel right, right? Okay. The watch. Is it Zen?
Tenemos un conocimiento del Zen, estas preguntas que yo personalmente, perdón, no entiendo mucho el inglés.
¿Sientas muy zen estas cosas? Yes. ¿Por qué?
The purity of light, the lights, the sign.
It's simple, right? Okay.
Purity of light,
Okay.
the lines.
Good answer.
I don't know.
Gracias. So this thing is a phone made by bamboo. Is it Zen?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, cool. This is a landscape view of an architecture. Do you think it's Zen?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so in terms of Christian, a church, do you think it's Zen?
Yes.
Why? It's not Buddhism, it's not Taoism. It's a church of Christian. Why is it so Zen for you?
Because it's very empty.
Okay, great. I like the answer. Okay, now nowadays, do you think it's Zen?
No.
No?
Sure.
Not
Not sure.
sure?
It's not clear.
Any geek guy that I see in the below that I see you are playing your iPhone. Do you think it's Zen the senor with the red shirt? Thanks. Okay, then after all items that I show you, now I'm going to play a video that I think is very Zen aesthetic that we can feel to make sure that everybody's on the same page. It's a video that I took out from a Japanese film. The background of this video is in 15th century. Under the influence of China, the Japanese king has a tradition to collect luxury goods from all over the country. He would give it a price when he saw the thing himself. And this fragment redistribute competition at that time. So let's take a look. What's that? A painting from North Song. A tea bowl from town. Like a tea bowl from a famous family. Why are you so late? Oh, it's still early. He's expecting what he brings. What's that? It's nothing. So, do you like it?
Yes.
For me, it's a very beautiful expression of Zen aesthetic. So today we are going to study or know more about what's Zen aesthetic. Everybody can say, it's very Zen. I think it's cool, it's very Zen, but like no one can define what exactly the Zen is. So today we will know more about it. The introduction. As we know, Zen aesthetic is from Zen Buddhism. So today we will have a general scope of the Zen Buddhism to Zen aesthetic. From Zen aesthetic we can get the painting, the influence in painting, and the culture, and the ideology, and then turn back. It's like a circle. So before starting Zen aesthetic, we have to know what's the Zen Buddhism. So the Zen Buddhism is a sect of Mahayana Buddhism that originated during the Tang Dynasty. In ancient China, it's called Chan Buddhism. The key aspect of Zen is emphasizing the value of meditation and intuition. The practice of Zen meditation is the call to grasping Zen Buddhism, which is a way of seeking awareness and self-discovery. It is the way to obtain enlightenment. So D.T. Suzuki defines Zen as Zen focuses its attention on spiritual entitles, ignoring all forms. Zen endeavors to seek the existence of spiritual entitles in any form. Zen believes that incomplete forms and flow facts can express spirituality. And where does it come from? Zen and religion are parallel through the Gautama Buddha's pick up flower and smile. This is a very classical story of Buddhism. So 2,500 years ago, Gautama Buddha was in the first Buddhist council. And the council, the aim of the council was to select the next leader who could take the burden of Buddhism for better Buddhist expansion. And Brahma King gave a golden lotus. The lotus that he's holding is a golden lotus. To the Buddha, he raised the golden lotus without speaking, while observing who was capable of understanding what he meant. At that time, everyone was in silence because they don't understand a shit. And Mahayaku, in Chinese is 摩诃迦叶, he understood the meaning of the Gautama Buddha and gave him a smile, just a smile, like everybody is silent, but started like smile, like that. So the Buddha said, "Oh my God, I have the Dharma I possession. Let's pass it along without text, but by teaching them to feel." So here we have two keywords. One is without text and feel. After that, the Zen Buddhism spread to China, and it divided to 5 houses, which are Fayan School, Yunmen School, Caodong School, Hongzhong School, and Lingji School. So majorly here nowadays in Japan is Caodong School and Lingji School, and the difference among these schools are the way to obtain enlightenment that I'm going to explain in the following chapters. So now we have the more or less the lesson of Zen Buddhism and how does Zen aesthetic come from. Zen aesthetic has gradually merged with Chinese aesthetic in the literary class in Tang Dynasty, which 1,300 years ago. The application of Zen thought in China has had a great influence on the aesthetic concept of literature and art, naturally forming the Zen aesthetic. The Zen aesthetic spirit embodied in the Buddhism is manifested in a poem of Wang Wei. So Wang Wei is the first one who invented Zen aesthetic in his poems. So we are going to have a poem of Wang Wei. Bamboo adobe. I sit alone in the dark bamboo grove, playing the zinda and whistling long. In this deep wood, no one would know, only the bright moon comes to shine. So first time he used the words or the sentence, the poems, as a tool to teach people, to teach the reviewer how to feel without text. Here we have the principle of Zen aesthetic, because everyone can say, this is very Zen, that is very Zen, but only if you have this principle, you can define it as Zen. The first one is impermanence. The second one is enlightenment. And third one is moderation. Here I want to elaborate impermanence. As the basic theory of Zen, all suffering, it transcends the boundaries of strong feelings of bitterness and impermanence. To admit the impermanence is a method to understand permanence. It's very interesting. I'm gonna repeat. To admit the impermanence is a method to understand permanence. As you know that here in Europe, in the ancient Greek aesthetic, we like everything permanence and perfect. The perfection, because here in Europe I saw every church and important buildings, they are built by rock and stone, because rock and stone is something permanent. You will never destroy the rock, but consciously in China or Japan, like every important buildings, you build it in wood. Have you noticed? It's a very interesting comparison. Here we have a quote by Hui Neng. Hui Neng is a famous Zen Buddhist. He said, "As there is nothing from the first, where is the dust come from? A Chinese artist named Xu Bing, she used this sentence for the memory of 9/11 attack happened in New York City, as everybody knows here. Dust is one of the most basic and constant states of matter, and it cannot be transformed to anything else. Why did the World Trade Center return to its original material form after the 9/11 attack? The reason is that the view of the material energy is that it should not be gathered too much into one object. The cause of such incident is often due to the balance of political relations, but the origin is a violation of the nature form. Xu Bing made this artistic piece all by the dust from gathering from 9/11 attack. And what's ironic is this is an exhibition held in Scotland. So when he wanted to make this exhibition, he needed the dust from 9/11 attack transported from America to Scotland. But you know that due to the law, the legal issue, the dust itself cannot be transported. It's interesting. So he made the door by the dust of the 9/11 attack and transported it as a toy. And the characteristics of Zen aesthetic, among all, I would like to emphasize the simplicity. As you all see that maybe something simple for you, like less is more, like the Bauhaus thing is very simple. So maybe it's very Zen as well, but I'm going to explain in the following chapters that simplicity doesn't mean it's Zen. So the relationship with naturalness, Zen is from nature, so it's very important for the relationship with it. It's harmony, Wu Wei, and Yi Jing. Wu Wei means doing nothing is doing everything, and Yi Jing is artistic conception. The expansion of Zen aesthetic, we have to look at it from a historic point of view. At the very beginning, as everybody knows, everybody loves money. So it comes from the trade, the international trade. At the very beginning in the Xinjiang, which is the northwest of China, they have this Hetian jade. And so the Silk Road opened. And after that, the Attila and the Genghis Khan is emperor of Oriental emperor. They pushed the exchange of commercial and political. Built on the basis of commercial and political, the Xuanzang went to India for Buddhist classical. And along the Silk Road, they have many Buddhist caves called Dunhuang. And in the Yuan dynasty, which 600 years ago, Li Qi is an Italian. He arrived at Macau, where he first began his missionary work in China. So this is the cultural exchange. After the cultural exchange, we have the pictorial exchange. Everybody knows the Rococo here in Europe. So due to, if you check on Wikipedia, you can find that Rococo is inspired by some ancient Chinese painting, because the ancient Chinese painting was focused on inside, like inner, the feeling. So that's why it is inspired to Rococo. At the very beginning, they were focused on the decoration itself, not yet understand the spirit of Oriental art. It's just interior decoration. Like after 50 years, we have Impressionist. When the ukiyo-e is a Chinese wood painting, spread to Europe, it set off a strong wave and also greatly affected the Impressionist. So here we have the cultural influence of Zen aesthetic. Zen's influence has expanded from more than a religion into many respects of life, such as architecture, fashion, graphic design, industrial design, and photograph. As we all know, this is a Zen garden located in Kyoto, Ryoanji. The Zen architecture presents an environment for the monk to more efficiently meditate for enlightenment. So nowadays we have Japanese architect called Kazuyo Seijima. He learns to inherit from the garden. He mentioned that the uncertainty is an essential element for Zen architecture, and she embraced this uncertainty of form, of functionality, and of the method. This is the Louvre of Lens, based in France. It's like a 1 hour driving from Paris. The Louvre in Lens, the picture. And also, we have two other architects, which is Dado Ando and Pei. Dado Ando, you can see from the very beginning, the Church of the Light. And Pei is the architect of the Louvre, the Pictima. So about fashion, from Asian Chinese painting, one can see the monk wearing clothes with an extremely simple outline. There are two Japanese fashion designers who are famous in the world. One is Issei Miyake, and another one is Lei Kuboyawa. So we are talking about Issei Miyake. He was recognized as the most Zen fashion designer for two main reasons. One is the design of the fold. The fold have different way of folding, regular or irregular, deep or shallow. In other words, irregularity and unevenness has become the focus of the design. The second one is the design of the cutting. Its style mostly maintains a neat, simple style. Issei Miyake expressed the Zen aesthetic to the world with its unique design and applied it to the modern fashion design successfully. In the graphic design, white is a liberated area of the imagination. This painting is, I recognize this the most famous painting in the history of Japanese Zen painting that we are going to speak in the following chapters.
Sorry.
Yes.
What's the name of the first fashion designer, Japanese fashion designer?
Okay, it's Issei Miyake.
Issei Miyake.
Issei Miyake.
Perfect.
So inspired by this painting, maybe you look famous, familiar, because you definitely have seen the advertisement campaign of Muji, the Horizon. The Horizon collection was the first collaboration with Ken Yahara. The Horizon wrote a reductive natureness of the design and used simple Zen aesthetic features. Ken Yahara is the creative director of Muji. He used to say, "Horizon is a form as a huge container. It seems there is nothing there, but actually it contains everything." Okay, so as I mentioned before, the simplicity doesn't mean it's Zen aesthetic. So, can I ask you a question? Compared to these two knives, can you tell me which one is Oriental knife? Which one is Occidental knife? The top one is Oriental knife. Can I ask why, the señorita?
Well, the first part is in wood.
Yes.
And the
Okay, cool. So why don't you think the below one is not? The below one is simple as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could say that all before saying this, but I didn't see that is that much because it's not like following one shape that is really. I won't say only simple, but also like a pattern. I would say the first has a pattern. Like the first part in wood is so no surprise, but is in wood is like this way.
Yeah.
Circular, and the other one it starts like not a square but goes down and then perfectly diagonal kind of thing. And the other one is all in shapes in curves.
Yeah.
So it's really different. I wouldn't say that it's following one method. And I think that also in Oriental culture, more in Asian and I would say also in Japan, is really they like to follow one tradition because like the one that's follow the Tao.
Yeah.
Like you have to do it in the same shape that the Tao says, kind of thing.
Wow, muy interesante. Gracias. Anyone else? Yes, please.
The materials of the knife. The first one is iron and wood, and the second one is ceramic and plastic.
Yeah.
Steel. I'm sorry.
The first one is wood, and the second one is I think plastic.
Plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was-
Great.
The form
The form.
is practical, the second is practical.
Oh.
The hand, they are curves that may be useless in a same concept.
Oh my God, what a point! Thanks. It's very useful. Thanks for all the speech. You are all right. So I can tell you that the upper one is a Japanese knife, and that another one is the German knife. So let's see why simplicity is not Zen aesthetic. The German knife is very simple as well, as we all can see. It's with the use of ergonomics, so has given the knife inevitability. The user can hold this knife very, very comfortable and cut things effortless, without menos fuerza, with safety and muy seguro. And the Japanese knife is not as comfortable as the German knife, we can see, because the Japanese knife is just a shape, doesn't have the scientific shape. But it gives the user more possibilities. The user can hold it with the left hand or right hand. Like if you are a child, you can hold it. If you are an old man as well, you can hold a Japanese knife. But for German knife, you have to be an adult. Like you have to be a specific user for the German knife. So all the possibilities are determined by the user. This knife is like a container. They are both simple, but only one of them is related to Zen aesthetic because the nature and possibilities. Thanks, you are all right. And let's see more examples of. I think you all know that this is Naoto Fukasawa's design philosophy. Without thought. It can also be understood as improvisation and bound. Fukasawa pays attention to unconscious behavior in visible things and especially pays great attention to details. As we mentioned before, the Horizon campaign is shot by the photographer Tamotsu Fujiya. He knows how to shoot something invisible, the air. This is what photographer with Zen aesthetic does, how to shoot something invisible. Another example of his works, when he was working with Fukasawa's new design of a chair, there was not only the chair itself in the photo, but also the whole atmosphere that the chair produced. So he was shooting not only the chair, but the feeling he wants to convey the chair. He can rethink the object that he's going to shoot and find the meaning behind the appearance, so that he can record the atmosphere in the cleanest and significant way. I bet everybody knows Hiroshi Sugimoto, because I saw his exhibition here in Barcelona in the Fundación Mafre, yeah. And he used to say, I was shooting the history of things. In the Seascape series, I was shooting water and air. Water and air, I think, is invisible object. These two things may be the least changed things for human today. Other things in the world would change, but my artistic thing is the time itself. It means he's shooting the change. Here we have a general development of a Zen aesthetic. How does it come from, and why does it show to you nowadays this what's Zen? Zen aesthetic adapted to the new world when it arrived in China. In this case, the context is China, Japan, and the United States. We will talk about the performance and the influence of Zen aesthetic according to above context. So at the very beginning, as you can see, maybe this is the first official Chinese painting, painting by Gu Kaizhi, which 2,000 years ago. He had developed painting theory, especially the development of Buddhism. Like he merged the Chinese aesthetic and Buddhism. In his painting, people can find Confucian, Taoist, and Buddhist philosophy. Like he merged everything that was popular at that time in the Jin dynasty. Chinese painting has been transformed from bringing initially realistic to impressionist. Like at the beginning of Chinese painting, it's already focused on the impression. Like 300 years after, the painting began to be black and white, because as you can see, the previous one is still colorful, but 300 years after, it's becoming black and white. It's painting by Wang Wei, like the poet that I mentioned before, is the first one who invented Zen aesthetic in China. So for Chinese painting, the most important thing is artistic conception. It's concepción artística. It's something I cannot explain, but feeling. So for me, it's very difficult to tell you what's artistic conception. So I will show you some examples. Examination time in Song Dynasty. As the peak of Chinese painting, an emperor named Song Hui Chizong organized a selection of royal painters. And as followed, you can see the question at that time, like how he selected the royal painters. And I will ask each of you, if I give you this question, how will you paint? So are you ready? Okay, first one. How to paint a temple hidden in the mountains. ¿Cómo puede pintar un templo escondido en las montañas? Any volunteer, you can describe what you want to paint. Pintor, Domènec Corbella.
Yeah, has pillado, sí. Esto no estaba en la tesis. La pregunta es cómo...
¿O qué va a pintar cuando tienes esta cuestión de la escuela?
¿Cómo se pintaría un templo escondido en las montañas?
Un templo, sí, sí. Directamente, ¿no?
Sí, claro.
Sí. Vale, vamos a ver. ¿Cómo así?
Sí.
¿Sí?
Yo lo pintaría una montaña
Sí.
y mucha niebla,
Sí.
como solo viendo un poco de montaña, y un monje cerca de esa niebla, como flotando.
Estás seleccionado. Oh, Royal Painter.
Yo no pintaría el templo.
Oh, ¿por qué?
Pintaría la luz y un camino hacia la luz, iluminación.
También está seleccionado. So we can see from this painting, it's a temple hidden in the mountains. So you can see a temple really hidden in the mountains. So there is a temple, mountains, and the temple is half appearance, so like it's hidden. So if you paint like this, then you failed. You will never pass the examination. So let's see what's the sobresaliente obras. It's like this. In this painting, you will never see the temple. But you know it's hidden in the mountains because you see a little monk comes down from the top to down to taking water. So yeah, this is, so I think you are seleccionado, gracias, royal painters of Song Dynasty. So the second question, okay, are you ready? The second one is how to paint. There is a boat lying near the port without any passenger. ¿Cómo se pinta? Hay un barco que se encuentra cerca de puerto sin pasajeros. Any volunteer?
A nivel de agua, pues debajo del agua.
Yeah, please.
Pintaría el barco desde debajo del agua o a ras.
Sí, sí, gracias. Any volunteer who's interested in being a royal painter of Song Dynasty?
An empty boat and the port planks, wood planks making the port and of wood and the boat. Empty.
Very artistic. Thank you. So yes, we will see. There is a boat lying near the port without any passenger. But as we all know that this poem wants to express the absolute silence with the acting river. We have to mention that the river is moving. So if you paint like this, directly paint on what he said, then you failed. So let's see the example of this poem. How to paint this. If you want to express the spirit of the painting, you have to think deeper. A boat lying near the port. You can see an old man taking a nap. Está dando una siesta. No? It means that there's no any passengers for a while. because he's taking a nap at una siesta. That is what the poem wants to say. Right? Interesting. Okay, the last question. How to paint? There is a red flower among the green leaves. ¿Cómo se pinta? Hay una flor roja entre las hojas verdes. It's your last chance to be the royal painter. Any volunteer? Yeah, por favor.
It would be maybe an insect, a butterfly or something covering the flower, but you know that the flower is beneath because the butterfly is there.
Oh my god, genial. I think that everybody begin to know that we cannot paint things directly what we see. We have to paint what we feel. So this is the something I really want you to know about the Zen aesthetic. Don't paint anything you see. You have to paint anything you feel. So if you paint directly with this poem, then there's a red flower among the green leaves. Again, failed. So let's see the example of the famous painter. A red flower here becomes a young lady, and it shows perfectly what the spring is, full of hope, hopeness, energy, and fresh life. Okay, this is the real examination from the Song Dynasty. It's not my making up. I think everybody here knows the spirit of the Song Dynasty, the Chinese painting. That's the pig. But as we say, the pig is the beginning of the decline. So after Song Dynasty, unfortunately, in China, we don't have any more development of Zen aesthetic. But luckily, we have Zen aesthetic transferred to Japan. At that time, in Song Dynasty, is the most popular period for Japanese monks traveling to China and practice Zen in famous monasteries, such as Wutai Mountain Wutai. Kamakura Shoguns is Kamakura government at that time had a strong interest in Zen. Like we saw the first at the beginning of the video is from that time. It's the 15th century. So the Japanese Zen received a strong official support. With the encouragement of the government, Zen monasteries were established throughout the period. In the records of some research documents, there were around 80 monks traveled to China and brought back Chinese Zen Buddhism. At the same time, they also brought back the Chinese art and culture, such as tea ceremony, calligraphy. It was a great enlightenment to the Japanese art. So here we have two lights. The red one is the Soto school, and the blue one is the Lingji school. Now Lingji school occupies 90% of Zen Buddhism in Japan. The difference between Lingji and Soto is the way to gain enlightenment. Because Lingji school thinks that the enlightenment is a sudden enlightenment. Like one day I walk, oh, suddenly I gain enlightenment. And the Soto school thinks that the enlightenment is gained gradually. Like when I walk, when I sleep, when I eat, when I practice, when I cleaning. Maybe that is Zen. And the day after, yes, maybe that is Zen. Yeah, this is the main difference. So luckily we have Zen Buddhism developing in Japan. And as everybody knows, they developed their own culture, which is wabi-sabi. So the difference in Japan is they developed wabi-sabi based on Zen Buddhism came from China. Wabi means rustic simplicity, freshness, and quietness. And it is applied to human-made objects like a tea bowl or a bamboo spoon. Sabi means chill, lean, or withered, and it can be more applied to natureness. In the famous classic book named Inei Laisana, In Face of Shadows, and Alabanza de Sombras by Junichiro Tanizaki. And the Occidental, normally they design here, the Europe, they design the form we can see. But in Oriental, normally they design the shadow that we ignore. If you still remember the main character, the main actor of the video that I showed you at the very beginning, his name is Senno Ryukyu. He was considered a historical figure with the most profound influence on the Japanese tea ceremony. And thanks to the good relationship between Japan and the United States, in the 19th century, D.T. Suzuki popularized Zen with his extensive English writing. He became a visiting lecturer in the Chinese Department of Columbia University in the 1952. The class was open to the public, and as you can see, the John Cage, Ed Reinhardt, Philip Houston, and Mark Tobey was his students. He used to say, how to pay with Zen. The artist must follow his inspiration as spontaneously and absolutely instantly as it moves. He just lets his arms, his fingers, his brush be guided by it as if they were all mere instruments, together with his whole being, in the hands of somebody else who has temporarily taken possession of him. In 1962, just after 10 years of the arrival of D.T. Suzuki, the San Francisco Zen Center was incorporated, led by Shiryu Suzuki, the student of D.T. Suzuki. At the time of the San Francisco Zen Center opening, Zen had become a hot topic among some groups in the United States, some important group of arts, literature, music. So we can see in the next decade, Zen is becoming more and more popular in the United States. And in the 2009, the exhibition held in Guggenheim, named The Third Mind, features over 100 artists and literacy figures from artistic communities throughout the United States. This exhibition in Guggenheim marked Oriental philosophy, especially Zen Buddhism, historically becoming a part of American contemporary art. So after we finishing the expansion of China, Japan, and the United States, we have a brief map of the expansion from Zen Buddhism, Zen aesthetic. You can see from it was invented, the Buddhism invented in India, like the 5 or 6 century BC, and then he traveled to China. So we had Zen Buddhism invented in China. During the Song Dynasty, Zen Buddhism was transported to Japan. And the 19th century, thanks to the good relationship between Japan and the United States, we have it here nowadays in Zen Buddhism in the modern world. The traditional Zen painting, you must be very curious that we have talked about more like the general scope of the Zen aesthetic, but how does it relate it to the painting itself? The Chen Qingxiang, he defined the Zen painting. It is an expression of the realm of the Zen enlightenment. So he considered the Zen painting is the appearance of Zen enlightenment. The famous Enso. Enso is the shape of a circle. It's considered to be the most important element of Zen painting. The Zen circle symbolized absolute enlightenment, strength, elegance, the universe, and the void. Usually a painter paints the Zen circle in one fluid, like without any stopping. Expressive stroke. When drawn according to the Cao Shu means the cursive script, as you can see the right one. It's a style of Chinese calligraphy. It reveals the character of its creator and the context of its creation in a brief, contiguous period of time. So we have the characteristic of the Zen painting, which is Yi. Yi means the release and the spontaneously, and Xin means the container of the Yi. So how can we paint the Zen painting? First, you have to have a brush, in traditional Zen painting, because the stroke of Zen painting is constructed under the instrument for painting, which are the ink and brush. There are two important conditions when using Chinese brush and ink. It's straightforward, and you cannot modify once you begin. Comparable here in Europe, Occidental, we have the reed pen and the quill, like the above, is invented here in Europe during the Greek period. And the Occidental stroke in the pursuit of accuracy and functionality. Even later, there was a clear difference between pens for writing and painting. So like in Europe, you use different paints for writing and painting. But in Asian China, you use the same brush for painting and writing. And in terms of the ink, you have 5 different levels of the ink, which are condensed, concentrated, heavy, light, and clear. Zhang Yanyuan is the most famous Chinese painting theory scholar. He believed that the 5 levels of ink in the landscape change is to different presentation depending on the seasonal change. If you use the ink to paint, you can have effort like this. It's a painter named Shi. He knows how to use the 5 levels of the ink to express dynamic beauty. One of the most notable things that Shi paints is the shump. The shump is very vivid, but it's all painted by one kind of ink. And the composition. A major feature of Zen painting is leaving a blank. So if the picture is only 1/2 or less than 1/3 left blank, it makes the viewer feel the emptiness of the whole space. The painting Mountain Lu Shan by Yu Jian perfectly expresses the layer of blank living. So you can see we have a poem on the right and the painting on the left. This is a typical combination of Chinese painting. But during the Song Dynasty, we have another famous painter, Ma Yuan. He developed a blank living composition in a Zen painting. In his painting, the main object is located in a corner or a side, leaving the other part of the painting more or less empty. So I remember the scenario you mentioned, the emptiness. This is invented by Ma Yuan here in his painting. In terms of Japan, before Song Dynasty, it was like this. The Japanese aesthetic is so golden style. And the painting during that time, also they paint with gold. Can you believe it? It's like Gustav Klimt. But after the expansion of Zen Buddhism, they paint like this. And it's painted by ZENG Xi. It's the topic of the painting is birds and flowers of the 4 seasons, spring and summers. Also, we have another famous painter is Hasegawa Tahaku. The name of this painting is Pine Trees Folding Screams. It is curious that there's only pine trees as the main subject in the painting of that scale. It is so big, it's like this table, the length of this table. I think this work is the inspiration at the beginning of modern Japanese aesthetic. A dense mist fills the entire painting. It reduces the deeply into mountains covered by snow at the extreme right with the pine grove to the left composition. Okay, now we have finished the boring traditional Zen painter part, so let's go to the contemporary part. First we are going to take a look at contemporary Zen painters in China and Japan. First we have Zhao Wuqi. I think everybody here knows Zhao Wuqi is a French-Chinese painter. His creation can be divided into 4 periods. The first one was initially influenced by Paul Klee. Klee was full of imagination of the world, which stimulated Zhao to find his heart full of poetic picture. We know that Paul Klee is very interesting in the symbol. So inspired by Paul Klee, Zhao Wuqi turned back to the Chinese character. Here we have the progress of how Chinese character invented. The first one, can you tell me the meaning of the first character? Yeah, Montaña. Everybody knows, because the Chinese character itself is a painting. So the first one is Montaña, the mountain, and the second one is a little bit more difficult. Can you tell me? Water. Wow, exactly. Everybody knows Chinese here. Now we are having a Chinese lesson. And the last one, bamboo. Oh my God, have you learned Chinese? No? Surprise. Yeah. Japanese is a little bit different, but it also is like a painting. So the Paul Klee's Oriental spiritual painting inspired Zhao to turn back to the Chinese character, and the Chinese character itself is a symbol, and the Zhao's teacher Lin Fengmian used to say, in ancient China, painting and writing are the same. Painting is a pictogram, so it's like a painting is writing, writing is painting. So Zhao Wuqi undertook this theory and developed it into his own style. He considered ancient Chinese characteristics as abstract art symbol and transformed them into modern art language, which is his unique art language, makes him famous today. In the 90s, he began to re-explore fundamental Chinese painting and express inner feelings and spirit directly in this period. In his very old time, he went back to the ink painting. He can switch between true and false with skill and ease with the help of ink and paper. So there's no doubt that he gained freedom from the Zen aesthetic. So here I really want to ask, some painters at the beginning of their artistic life, they use here in Occidental, they paint with oil, con óleo, como the early life of their artistic life. But now, when they grow up or when they becoming more like a mature, they use aquarela, acrylic. Yes, so that's a very interesting comparison. It's like you are turning from kid to grow up, and again turning back to the kid. I know that the Professor Corbella, he used to paint with oil, but now he paint with aquarela. So can you share some opinion with us? Why you turn back to aquarela? Can you translate, please, Lidia, por favor?
Sí, decías, sí, perdón, no entendí bien. Bueno, en nuestro contexto cultural, la acuarela es una técnica, las técnicas acuosas, por lo general, son bastante desconocidas. Más bien tradicionalmente se ha practicado más las técnicas grasas, es decir, la pintura al óleo. Y por eso se domina más la pintura al óleo que las pinturas acuosas o acuarela. Cada una de estas técnicas tiene no sus secretos, pero sus propiedades. Y bueno, pues es cuestión de conocer las propiedades de los materiales, de los soportes, y una vez se van conociendo y se van dominando sus propiedades, pues se van consiguiendo resultados interesantes tanto en un medio como en el otro. Si bien es cierto que las técnicas acuosas, por su transparencia, por su ligereza, pues nos pueden remitir más experiencias de tipo Zen que la pintura grasa, que es una pintura más densa, más pesada, etc.
Muchísimas gracias. So it's like they are on the same period of artistic life. Zen Xi and Domènec Corbella is very curious for me. Like there are so many painters turning back to the original skills. So another painter, another Chinese painter we have here is Xiaoqing. Xiaoqing founded the first Chinese abstract painting movement, the Dongfang Art Group. This group had significantly contributed to the development of abstract art in China. What's more important, he moved to Barcelona when he was young, and he had the group exhibiting here in La Biela, in La Rambla. Vilena, lo siento, sí. So this was the Vilena at that time during the 60s. He established the field of art dialogue between Occidental contemporary art and Oriental culture. His artistic creation is based on the philosophical thought of Zen and Taoism, but it's not that lucky that he had it at the very beginning. At the very beginning, he had a style of this. He just simply painted the Chinese the Chinese opera. I really don't like opera because everybody thinks the Chinese opera is part of Chinese culture. Yes, it is, but it's not the full culture. So like you must hate like ¿De dónde eres? España. Oh, do you know flamenco? Have you heard this? So Xiaoqing as well, at the very beginning, he painted the Chinese opera with just the oil skills. But after not a long time, and this period is minimalist mechanical civilization, from the Oriental lyrics to the Occidental modern geometric modeling. The ink had been replaced by the colorful colors. The blank leaving was gradually covered by the bright colors. And the third part of Xiaoqing's artistic life is Oriental philosophy of the cosmic atmosphere. So this series is works shows Xiaoqing's most well-known style. It was continued to the present. You can find the Lao Tzu and Zhuangzi's Taoism thought. It became the idea of his creation. At that time, he started from the idea but relaxed his own ideas elaborately in order to replace the strong, bright colors with the use of ink for the performance of the form. So finally, he found his unique style of Zen painting. Turning to the contemporary Japanese painter, we have Chilla Yoshihara. Sorry, it's very late, but I'm going to speed it up, okay? So Chilla Yoshihara contributed to the artwork at the very beginning. He painted like this. Maybe it's a very abstractive expressionism inspired by American art, but after he began to realize that he needed to go back to where he comes from, which is Japan. So from the photo, we can see he really likes the circle. We mentioned before the circle represented the enso. In Zen painting, it is the perfect expression of the void. In the model of abstraction in the 90s, this bold circle was meditated by the body that catalyzed action and afforded freedom. The body and gesture were reduced to an almost imperceptible degree in his painting. The shape and the meaning of the circle catalyzed his act of painting. Another painting of Yoji, the circle. He is inspired by the Chinese calligraphy, but what's more important, we have another important Japanese painter who contributed to blind the boundaries of calligraphy and Zen painting, which is Shiryu Morita. Shiryu Morita, he mixed the style of calligraphy and painting because you can hardly tell the difference between calligraphy and painting. As we mentioned before, the writing itself is the painting, and likewise the painting itself is the writing. Finally, we turn to the contemporary Zen painter in the US, Robert Madbear. He attended D.T. Suzuki's Zen Buddhism lectures. There, he decided to dedicate himself to professional artists. At the beginning, he painting like this. You can feel some of the unconscious Zen painting because he used ink and a colorful brush, but you still don't see any mature style of robot. But after this work, the Elegy to the Spanish Republic, number 34, the imagery of creation is both organic and linear, both lyrical and scared, never drawn from the limit, but constantly creating infinite possibilities for itself. So here we have a keyword, is the possibility he painted. And in this painting, Sublight number 1, you can feel that there's something more because there's no sublight he painting in this painting. He painted but you can still feel the sunlight, the spirit of sunlight here. Many of his works is reminiscent of Oriental calligraphy and ink painting. He made great meaning that he had been inspired by Chinese calligraphy art. Is the blank itself is painting. Here we have the image of charcoal. Also, he was trying to show the emptiness. The second one is Mark Tobey. He's famous of the block and the light, the dark, the expression of feasible, flexible lines, the Broadway. He successfully transformed calligraphy lines into a new form of expression. And you can still feel the crowding from New York City. Toby read the Zen in the art of archery, and he tried this style, the performance of the artist's idea and the content. Finally, he had a painting like a Chinese gaucherie and 5 dancer. You cannot see any dancer, but you can still feel the dynamic and the performance of the dancer. And one of his most notable art is the white painting itself. He was trying to paint the space and the invisible lines himself. The space ritual, he used the stroke of the calligraphy to express the space. Okay, the John Cage dedicated himself to the integration of American avant-garde art and Zen aesthetic. He was considered to be a visual artist and composer because he's famous of the music at the beginning. He visited the anechoic chamber at Harvard University, which is the absolute like soundproof room, and he considered this the Zen temple. When he was sitting there, he can hardly hear anything but the sound of his heartbeat. So he painted a series of 7-day diary with his eyes closed. Also, he tried to paint with the nature, the rock he gained from the river. This series was called the Liu Qi Temple, which is the famous Zen temple in Kyoto. Also, he tried to paint with the fire, the storm, the nature, everything, the smoke as well. Again. So it is an unknowable order in nature as revealed by his chance operation. Last we have Ed Reinhardt. He used to say that classic Chinese painting are organized, organic, atmospheric, and airless. Immanent and transcend ideal, unreal, the most real. They are complete, self-contained, absolute, rational, perfect, serious, silent, monumental, and universal. If you are interested, you can come and shoot this. I will give it to you. Let's have a very quick pass. I'm sorry for the delay. At the very beginning, it was a block. And how does the block to merge? So you can see the boundary of the block is beginning to disappear, and finally he has this black painting. He believes that the black is the absolute zero, absolute emptiness, absolute void, not absolute nothingness, and absolute simplicity. So I cannot really show the painting of Ed Reinhardt, otherwise you will think my keynote is broken. So instead I put a photo here, little brief conclusion of the painters that we have. Okay, it's gonna just take 5 minutes, don't worry. Okay, we are almost there. So, what is Zen aesthetic exactly? I will not tell you what is Zen aesthetic, but I will show you what is not. A comparison between modernism and Zen aesthetic will help you to understand yourself. And I have a graphic designer friend. Her name is Zoe Zhang, and during her graduation design, she made this comparison. So as the left, you can see the modernism. As the right, you can see the Zen aesthetic. The box and the bowl. The progress and no progress. The purity and corrosion. Logical and sensory. Slick and crude, regular and irregular, rational and intuitive, universal and personal, technology and nature, absolute and relative, mass-produced, one of a kind, geometric and organic, public and private, future-oriented and present-oriented, man-made and natural. Thanks. So the end is just another beginning. El fin es solo un otro comienzo. Gracias a todo. And what's more important? Feliz Festival de Medio Otoño hoy. Gracias a todos.
Well, thank you very, very much, Dr. Zen, for your, I would say, enlightening lecture today. I'm sorry we have no more time, well, because in the other room behind, there's Chinese class now. I think we have like a couple of minutes for a couple of questions. I don't know if anybody has any question or comment. Try to be brief, please. No, if there's no questions, thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
again.
you very much again, and hope to see you all soon in other activities here in the University. Thank you. Gracias.
Gracias a todos.